I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our opening hymn number 1023, Building Bridges. Now, we're going to do it again. We're going to do a round. So I'm going to invite you to sing it all the way through once, and then this side will start, and then this side will come in on the second line. Okay, so all together first. It sounded wonderful to me. Always a question, do you recognize me? The computer wants to know if it recognizes me. And isn't that all we really want, to be recognized? But that's later for the sermon, folks. I'm Reverend J. Wolin, the settled minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. And we want to welcome all of you who are here today. Thank you for being here. We especially want to welcome our visitors, both here in person as well as online on YouTube. And we want to make sure you are aware that you are welcome to participate in any of our events. And we welcome you to find out more about this congregation and Unitarian Universalism. And to do that, we invite you to consider registering in our virtual guest book, which you can find via a link on the homepage of our website, uusrq.org, or at our welcome and hospitality table right outside the door of the sanctuary. And if you do, if you sign up, then I want to let you know you will get a weekly email telling you about all of the things that are happening here. Mostly it'll be one weekly email with the occasional special event email thrown in. Please like our Facebook page, where you can also find inspirational memes as well as information about events at the congregation. As well, please join us after the service for coffee and dessert. We look forward to getting to know each other. I just have one announcement, and then there will be another one by the social justice. I just want to let everybody know that Dee Witter, our office administrative assistant, is turning 85 this year. And yeah, go ahead. Anytime you turn 85, I think that's worth cheering. But she has decided that she wants to have more time to play Scrabble. And so she is retiring and is insisting on not having a party. So, but please stop in and tell her she's been an invaluable source of knowledge for me my first 2 years here, and she will be missed. I now want to invite up Margie Terrell for the social justice Share the Plate.
Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's my sincere pleasure today, on behalf of Valerie Bouchan, the president of Newtown Nation, to tell you a little bit about this organization. Miss Valerie, as she is known, is the lady in the red shirt with the big, beautiful smile. Founded in 2015 by a diverse group of concerned citizens, Newtown Nation provides a plethora of valuable services that support a healthy, happier, and engaged community. Unfortunately, the majority of Newtown residents live extremely below federal poverty levels, and they consistently lack access to healthy food. But the good news is that Newtown Nation offers a farmer's market on Friday and Saturdays where vegetables, fruits, and prepared foods can be purchased at a low cost. And Miss Valerie is regularly seen in her golf cart delivering fresh, free, and prepared foods to the shut-ins in Newtown neighborhood. At Thanksgiving and Christmas, Newtown Nation serves up delicious meals. I've had them. And they are for the homeless residents as well as for any others in need or some of the volunteers. Additionally, Newtown Nation supports school children by providing enriching activities and resources such as visits with Mr. Stevie and friends, and he teaches them mindfulness, meditation, and art in a delightful setting at MLK Junior Park. Not only does Newtown Nation address the educational and health needs of the community, but it also provides opportunities for social and emotional wellness. How many of you have heard of or visited Big Mama's Collard Green Festival? Let's see the hands. Look, there's a lot of you. I know if you've been there, you've enjoyed it. What I have described is just a snippet of the excellent work that Newtown Nation is doing daily for this community in need. And today you can be part of this excellent work. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for whatever you choose to donate to Newtown Nation. Thank you.
And now it is our pleasure to invite up Pete Carney, our musician for today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate Mr. Brand inviting me to play some tunes. These are some original pieces of music I wrote. And they're spiritual, and they're from my jazz background and my experience working in different churches in Chicago and absorbing all the energy from the different people I met. And this first one is called Before Times, the Before Times, and it's about us as a community getting back to the spirit of who our best version of ourselves was before COVID, basically. The spirit of our country before COVID. I wrote this right after COVID started slowing down, and as a reminder to me to get back to who I was and the heart spirit. So hope you enjoy.
Our opening reading today is from a great and glorious game, Baseball Writings of A. Bartlett, Giamatti. It breaks your heart. It's designed to break your heart. You count on it, rely on it to buffer the passage of time, to keep the memory of sunshine and high skies alive. And then just when the days are all twilight, when you need it most, it stops. Maybe it wasn't this summer, but all the summers that slip by so fast. There comes a time when every summer will have something of autumn about it. I was counting on the game's deep patterns: 3 strikes, 3 outs, 3 times, 3 innings, and its deepest impulses to go out and back, to leave and return home, to set the order of the day. As we light our chalice, let it be a symbol of a beacon calling us to home, to worship together. Please join me now in affirming one of our value statement of equity, which is printed in the order of service and on the screen above me. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion.
Good morning. So our story today is I Am Jackie Robinson by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos. I am Jackie Robinson. And you know, sometimes it's hard to be brave, but my mom was brave and she liked brave people. So she named my middle name Roosevelt because she thought President Roosevelt was brave. But a brave name doesn't make you a brave person. In fact, as a kid, I didn't like sleeping alone, so I used to sleep with my mom. And even when she tried to bribe me, I wouldn't leave. One of my scariest moments, though, came when I was 8 years old. I was outside, and a girl from across the street called me a terrible name. Well, I was so mad, I yelled a name right back at her. Her father came running immediately. He didn't like it that a black boy was standing up to his white daughter. I don't remember who threw the first rock, but the fight was on. It was me versus her dad. I had a good arm, but no one wins in a rock fight. Eventually, the girl's mom came out and broke it up. But like I said, the world can be a scary place. But there was one thing that always made me happy: sports and winning sports. Okay, I guess that's 2. But I love playing everything from baseball to football and basketball, soccer, marbles, even dodgeball. All the kids would get in a circle, white and black and Hispanic and Asian, and we all played together. And the rules were simple. If the ball hit you, you were out. Well, of course, I usually won, and the kids really appreciated my skill. But I remember that was the few times that I was not judged by the color of my skin. So how do you win when you feel like you're fighting the world? Well, my mother showed me the answer. Back then, we were so poor, we sometimes only ate 2 meals a day. And so to help us out, the local bakery and the milkman would give us their extras. It seemed like a feast. But we weren't the only ones struggling. So my mom would take the extra food and she would share it with the neighbors. It was one of my mom's best lessons. When you do something good, it brings out the good in others. I learned a similar lesson from Mr. Anderson. He saw I was part of a group of poor boys called the Pepper Street Gang, who for fun would just throw dirt clods at cars. Mr. Anderson took me aside and calmly said, "Jackie, I know you're following the crowd, and I know why. You're afraid that they'll think that you're different, or chicken, but it doesn't take guts to follow the crowd. Courage comes from being willing to be different." Well, those words really sank into me, and so with the help of my pastor, I stopped hanging out with the gang, and I started my favorite hobby, sports. In college, I became the first UCLA student ever to letter in 4 sports in the same season. baseball, football, basketball, and track. But my white teammates didn't like that I got so much attention, so they would purposely try to injure me. I couldn't play professional sports. You had to be white. But all that was about to change, thanks to a man named Branch Rickey, who was president of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Mr. Rickey told me that he knew I was a good ball player, but he really wanted to know whether I had the guts to play when many white people would be mad to see a black player. In April 1946, I played my first official game. Thousands of black and white spectators came to see if a black player could be as good as a white one. In the third inning, crack, I hit the ball into the stands. And the answer is yes, a black man can play as well as a white man. Some called it a home run, some called it history. Well, after the game, I was mobbed by fans, black and white, young and old, and even the folks rooting for the other team. Game after game, I kept playing, knowing I wasn't just playing for myself. Slowly, eventually, we were all playing together, all races. Baseball opened up to everyone. Through the game of baseball, the country saw a new possibility, a new option. All they needed was for someone to go first. So in life, people tried to scare me. They wanted me to stop. They wanted me to go away. Why? Because I was different, and I wanted to fight back. But for real change to come, you need to lead by example. Being a leader takes bravery, but no matter big or small you are, there's always something that's going to scare you. And it's okay to be afraid, just don't let it stop you. There is real power in each and every one of us. Use that power to do what's right. Use that power for a cause that you believe in. And most of all, use that power to lead and help others. So no one in baseball can wear the number 42, but once a year, every player on every team wears it. It's the one day where everyone looks the same. So maybe the answer to life is the number 42. So now I'm going to invite the children and youth and their families to join me in the West Wing before we head out to the water slide for fun and fellowship. And after the service, I hope all of you will bring your cup of coffee and cookies to the big top tent where you'll get to know some of our UU families and watch the antics. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Our centering in words as well come from the same book, A Great and Glorious Game. Baseball writings of A. Bartlett, Giamatti. This summer that did not last, and the playing of the game was in the only place it will last, the enclosed green field of the mind. There, in that warm, bright place, what the old poet called mutability does not so quickly come. But out here at summer's end, where it rains all day, Dame Mutability never loses. The doctrines of an afternoon, the anxieties, the things that have to be done tomorrow, the regrets about yesterday, the accumulation of a summer, all forgotten. While hope, the anchor, bites and takes hold, where a moment before it seemed that we would be swept out with the tide. And so as we now go into a time of silence, let us remember what it is that gives us hope on a day-to-day basis. So when I was younger, when someone would ask me what the meaning of life was, and you know, it's kind of funny how that often came up in conversations I was in. Even before I entered ministry, I was just that kind of party guy. So like, for instance, I even do this. Hey Siri, what is the meaning of life?
One possibility is that humans were put on Earth to invent bubblegum, in which case the pressure is off.
Okay, one possibility is that humans were put on Earth to invent bubblegum, in which case the pressure is off. Sometimes it gives serious answers, sometimes it makes a joke about Nietzsche, and every time I ask the question, it gets a different answer. Anyway, whenever anybody would ask me this question, I would always say the meaning of life is 42. Now, right, for those who have heard that before, my answer came from the Douglas Adams book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In the book, an alien race created a supercomputer named Deep Thought to answer the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. And after 7.5 million years, Deep Thought determined the answer was 42. Now, of course, this was incomprehensible, right? However, the alien race then commissioned Deep Thought to create another computer to help the aliens understand the question that gives context to the answer 42. And so Deep Thought created the planet Earth as a supercomputer to find that question. When that put an unequivocal end to the theory of evolution question, if that was true. The beginning of the book starts 10 million years after the computer started trying to find the question, and there are about 5 more minutes to go until completion. And the protagonist of the book, a human named Arthur Dent, is laying down in front of bulldozers to prevent his house from being bulldozed. He is willing to sacrifice himself to protect what he feels is his. And then his friend, who is a disguised alien, saves him right before the supercomputer Earth, which is supposed to give the question to the answer. The Earth is then destroyed by other aliens to make way for something called a hyperspace bypass. Yes, right before. Couldn't have waited 5 more minutes. But I think the message of that story to me is that the quality of the questions that we ask will determine the quality of the answer that we receive. So as an example, we've been talking about growth at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota recently, growth in many different ways, functionality, spiritual, and as well numerically. And people often ask, well, why do we want to do this? And I think the better question is that if we believe Unitarian Universalism has an important religious message, if our experience here in this community has been positive, why would we not want to share it with our friends and the rest of the community that shares our values? Changing the question to make its context more clear helps guide us to better answers and to better actions. Sometimes finding an answer requires patience. Now, 7.5 million years may be a long time, but think about 7 million years in the scope of evolution, right? Have we not gained a greater understanding of humanity, our world, our universe, let alone the past 7 million years, just let alone the last 10 years, honestly? Sometimes we just have to take the longer view of things. I mean, it's only been less than 1,000 years that we learned that the world is not flat. Imagine what we will find out in the next 1,000 years. Perhaps we are part of a simulation of some sort. Sometimes in life, the answers we find will not be satisfactory, and we will have to start again. And when we have fallen, when we have been fragmented, when we have realized our fallacy, then in that moment, we are defined as individuals and as a species that continues on despite our struggles, even with uncertainty, with the hope of a better outcome, even if not in our lifetimes. And even so, we continue on, as Theodore Parker said, to bend the arc of the universe towards justice, even if it's ever so slowly. And we have seen that in just this past election, where we all organized for our values, and our values won the day. It can happen. Sometimes awareness takes time, though, right? Sometimes events in one's lives intersect with others, and that opens up a gateway to awareness. We just have to be open to recognizing and even intentionally looking for when those moments of intersection happen, to recognize that there is something we have that we can learn, something we have that we can share with others that can bring awareness to others and ourselves. And so the writer of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Douglas Adams, who has since passed away, has said in repeated interviews that he just made up the answer 42. There is nothing special or significant about it. However, this summer, as I was home contemplating the meaning of life, as I often do while I'm watching my Facebook Reels going on, I came up, there was a reel of the movie 42 about Jackie Robinson. And that prompted me to rewatch the movie, and I immediately made the connection that somehow Jackie Robinson and baseball held the context to the answer, the ultimate answer of life, the universe, and everything. So first, baseball in general, a very sublime game that has many parallels to our life. The season starts in spring, right? When we emerge from the cooler temperatures of winter to the warmth of sunshine, when the flowers start to bloom. Everything that was old seems new again, and the season then ends in the fall, just as leaves are starting to fall off the trees. I remember it as if it were yesterday, as a young boy, the first time I walked out that concrete walkway and opened up to the bright green grass of Shea Stadium in Queens, New York. It seemed like I was walking into the Garden of Eden. And so you'll notice, of course, I grew up a New York Met fan. Even though I lived in the Bronx, I grew up a Met fan. So you notice I'm wearing my orange and blue to show my support for the Mets. Since I've moved away, I accept the idea. But when you grow up there, sort of like the White Sox and the Cubs, you either have to love or hate the other one. And the Mets were really good back then. So anyway, I grew up during an era I call an era of innocence before steroids. And the Mets, the eternal underdog, had been a team that started only in 1960, 61, sometime around there, after the Dodgers, by the way, and the Giants left New York. But the Mets had a relief pitcher named Tug McGraw. And if you don't know who he is, he happens to be the father of the country singer Tim McGraw. A little bit of trivia there, if you're ever in a trivia night. And he would shout out, "You gotta believe." Even when they get behind, you gotta believe, as a rallying cry for the team. Now back then, as I said, it was a time of innocence, and I didn't ask, why should I believe? What proof do you have that should convince me that I should believe? Right? No, we just believed. And in the end, at least for a couple of summers, our belief was rewarded. Like life, baseball is full of hope and belief and disappointment, especially for you Seattle fans out there, who are the only team that's ever even been to a World Series. I used to say that about the Cubs, but then they won, so a while back. And they just fired their manager this week, Seattle. Anyway, still, each year, at the beginning of each year, hope springs eternal. And as I have gotten older, after many losing seasons, I have learned my Buddhist training has helped me with this, not to become attached to the outcomes of the games, right? To just enjoy the game for the game itself. Its pace slower than most other sports. A reminder to slow down in our fast-paced world of action sports. A reminder to notice the blades of grass and the sunshine on our face, waiting with patience to see how the pitch, the innings, the game would turn out. Like finding the answer to life. The game of baseball requires patience. In fact, the game could potentially never end. One of the few sports that does not allow a tie to end the game, like eternity. It can just go on and on and on until it reaches a conclusion. Like life, baseball is filled with failure. The best players in the world fail 70% of the time when they get up to bat. Those are the best players. And just as we as a species continue on despite our failures, so do baseball players. And so does baseball, even after the unholy designated hitter rule. Like life, baseball is filled with both certainty and uncertainty. Each stadium has both symmetry and asymmetry built into its design. The infield diamond, or even a square, the four bases are the same dimensions in every single stadium. Yet the outfield in every stadium has different dimensions and shapes, anywhere from 300 feet to over 430 feet, depending on the stadium, different shapes. Yankee Stadium had a very short right field. That's why they always had many lefty home run hitters there. The goal in baseball, I couldn't resist getting that jab in on the Yankees. The goal in baseball is for the player who is batting to get home. And ultimately, isn't that what we want to do? To find our way home, to find our way back to the beginning where we started, to shed the dust of life off of us that covers us from years of challenges and efforts to conform us. After being in the dirt for too long, but before going home, a player must first go from first to second to third base before they get home. Like life, it is a journey to find our way back home. So go from first to home. Some go from first to home very quickly via hitting a home run. Like life, some people are just naturally gifted in certain things and can do it themselves with raw power and will. But that is the rare few. Right? Like baseball, most of us have to scratch our way all the way home, hitting a single, advancing the bases throughout the inning before scoring maybe on a sacrifice fly. Now, sacrifice, right? In truth, the first time I heard the word sacrifice was not in church, but at a baseball game, right? It's true. When a batter sacrifices their chance to journey around the bases to help advance another player get home. Just like life. Some things we can do on our own, but often with most things, we need help from others. Sometimes we have to sacrifice things so others can succeed, or others sacrifice so we can succeed. In the end comes the realization that none of us can do it alone. Even the home run hitter needs the pitcher to throw the ball to him. Right? We need each other. We are all interdependent with each other. And now, talking about sacrifice, I'm going to ask you to sacrifice a little of your money as we take our offering. 100% of what you give will go to our Share the Plate Newtown Nation. So please be as generous as you can. For those online or on your cell phone, there's a link in the YouTube video, or you can use the QR code that is in your order of service. Let this sacred time begin. Thank you, Don, for doing that. And now I engage you. We will be doing a responsive reading, number 567 from our hymnal, To Be of Use. You will be reading the yellow part. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who stand in the line and haul in their places, the work of the world is common as mud, botched as it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. Excellent. Now, one more time, Pete Carney.
I forgot 1, 2, check 1, 2. I forgot to identify myself as a Cubs fan also. Yeah, I lived in the South Side. This next tune is called Powerful Days. It's inspired by the leaders of the civil rights movement like Jackie Robinson and many of the musicians that went even before Jackie Robinson that were playing integrated music. And it's inspired by a quote by Martin Luther King that said, basically, every day is a powerful day to do something good. So.
So I had it in 1947. I know Catherine said 1946, but Jackie Robinson, who wore the uniform number 42, was the first African-American player to play in Major League Baseball. I also want to say it's kind of sad nobody talks about Larry Doby, a great player in his own right, was the second African-American player in the major leagues. He started only 2 months after Jackie Robinson. But there is something to being first, to taking that risk, right, to being a trailblazer, right? Not surprisingly, also, sorry to my Boston friends, but Boston was the last team to integrate 12 years later in 1959. Robinson was, of course, being the first, had to be a tremendously skilled player. More than that, he was determined and persistent. And I think his greatest skill was his ability to remain calm in the midst of a storm. Despite an onslaught of constant taunts, violence, and discrimination, Robinson did not respond with violence or viciousness. More importantly, Robinson was able to maintain his high quality of his play throughout it all. Robinson had the support of his family, the ownership of the team, his manager, and many of his teammates. But he was the one that had to go out there day in and day out and deal with the challenges that many of us cannot imagine. So what can we learn from Jackie Robinson, and how does this have anything to do with the meaning of life? How do we face the challenges of our day? How do we maintain calm in the midst of the storm? And how do we even determine whether that is the right and appropriate action? First, we need to be as excellent as we can be in whatever it is we are doing. We need to maintain our own internal integrity, always knowing who we are and what our values are, and to act from our values. We need to risk failing, and if we do, to keep trying new things. We need to be willing to sacrifice some of our own personal desires for the greater good, for something larger than just ourselves. But most of all, we need to be engaged, right? We need to participate as our best selves at the highest levels, to have the largest impact with those that we connect with. If Jackie Robinson had reacted violently to those who taunted him, instead of showing the dignity that he did, then the future of integration in baseball, and maybe even this entire country, may have taken a different course. It is said that the Dodgers' opponents' excessive vitriol against Robinson actually united the Dodgers to support Robinson in ways that they might otherwise not have happened. Robinson changed how many people in this country thought about race. It's sad that it comes to that, to see change happen, but sometimes that is what is required. And we always need to remember to do what is required to bring about the change that we desire. In different circumstances and times and places may require a different response. It is unfortunate, but that is how most minorities have to be to break barriers. It just sadly is. You have to almost be perfect, right? One has to be twice as good and work twice as hard. I know I heard that even from my parents in regard to Christians. If I wanted a job, I was Jewish, I had to work twice as hard as Christians and be twice as smart as them to get a job. And I've heard this from many of my African American friends, and as well from other BIPOC individuals. So And you also have to conform. I think, that's another really interesting thing we don't often talk about. We're often taught to conform to what is acceptable ways of acting. And I think this is really where multiculturalism, which we will be talking about more this year, really comes into play. Because, all of those are unrealistic expectations. Yet Jackie Robinson and many others did exactly that. This episode of our history also shows how white people can be allies to BIPOC individuals, to use their power to affect social change for all. Although Brooklyn's ownership motives to hire Robinson may have in some part been economic, but it was still a risk. But a risk that can lead to justice is a risk worth taking. So I ask you, what are you willing to risk? What old arguments or old failures are you willing to let go of? What old ways of doing things are you willing to let go of? Are you willing to put them aside for the greater good? For the greater good of yourself, the greater good of your family, the greater good of this community and the larger community. In all your actions, I ask you to consider, are you impacting other people's lives for the better? So how can you participate to make this community the best it can be, so it can affect transformative change in people's lives and in Sarasota community? What are your unique skills? What are your passions in the world? And how can you combine your skills and passions to where there is a great need in the community? A Gallup poll showed that a large percentage of members of congregations wanted to be involved, but they had never been asked, or they didn't know how to get involved. Very funny. We just talked about this yesterday in our Discover UU class. We often wait for people to ask to do something instead of personally inviting people to participate. Well, if you are a member of a team or a committee, I ask you to please personally invite somebody to participate in your program or your team or committee. We don't need to be so shy. I know many of us are introverts and that's hard, but we don't need to be. So talk to me. If this is your personal invitation, anyone there who doesn't know how to get connected, talk to me, talk to your board members, go to any of the tables out there. People will direct you. Right? Find out how to get connected and how to connect. And I do believe being connected is one way that will add meaning to your life. There's a book of activities and programs that we have here with like 50 things. And so choose one, and if you can't find one, let's create one. Are we going to be like Arthur Dent, worrying about his house when the whole planet is being destroyed? So let us use our knowledge, our awareness of the universe to shape our future before others shape it for us. Let us look at the big picture and what is best for the whole. And if we do what is best for the whole, we will make ourselves whole. And by finding wholeness, we will find ourselves safe at home. And that, to me, is the meaning of life. So let's play ball. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our closing hymn, 368. Now let us sing.
Power
Thank you. Our closing words also from A. Bartlett, Giamatti. It would be foolish to think that all of our national experience is reflected in any single institution, even our loftiest. But it would not be wrong to claim for baseball a capacity to cherish individuality and inspire cohesion in a way in which is a hallmark of our loftiest free institutions. Nor would it be misguided to think that, however vestigial the remnants of our best hopes, we can still find, if we wish to, a moment when those best hopes, those memories for the future have life, when each of us, those who are in and those who are out, have a chance to gather in a green place around home. Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for your presence here today. Go have fun. There's potlucks, there's slides. Enjoy.